Hi, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Susan Barashai of Sia Admissions Consulting. I am so glad to be here with GMAT Club's YouTube channel. I wanted to ask you first if you can subscribe to be notified about new GMAT videos as well as MBA videos. Today, there's a special offer that if you subscribe, you'll receive 7-day subscriptions to the GMAT Club. It activates immediately, and look for the link on the comment section. We're about 6 months away from the round 1 MBA application for the 2020-2021 application cycle. And it's, I think, a perfect time to think about how you want to present your case, and also why are you here? Why are you considering an MBA at this point in your career? But before we go into the presentation today, I would like for us to think about, or rather, I would like to introduce myself first and also Sia Admissions Consulting. So Sia Admissions is a boutique New York City-based admissions consulting firm. I work with clients directly. So we work one-on-one to really get to know the unique characteristics of my clients. I want to get to know their character, their values, their mission, who they are, and what matters to them. This is, of course, this helps us really tell their story in a meaningful way to the admission committee, to the target institution. And also it helps us present a profile that is sympathetic to the individual's ambitions, who they are and what they want to do, but also weaves in the university's mission, the target university's mission, and vision of their ideal candidate. Obviously, this ensures that their submission has the highest probability of success, especially if we spend time thinking about and presenting your best self, right? I have a 90% placement rate at top 20 MBA programs, top 20 business schools, including HBS, MIT, Booth, Yale, and NYU. So a little bit about myself. I am the, as I mentioned, founder of Sia Admissions Consulting. I am an alumnus of Yale and NYU. My previous career has been in corporate recruiting as well as finance. While I was in finance, I worked for a prominent New York City-based hedge fund as well as a Belgian-based private equity firm. While I've had wonderful opportunities in the corporate world, I've always been passionate about helping others tell their story. I've been passionate about helping others reach their highest potential. While I was working at the hedge fund in New York City, I was asked by a colleague to help her apply to HBS. That was her dream school. Although she was applying to other schools as well, that was the one that she really wanted to make sure that she nailed down. Of course, I did. She got admitted 3 months later. And that was really the foundation, the pivotal moment for me, that made me realize that this is a way that I can help individuals reach their potential, reach their ambitions, and reach their goals. And that's what founded Sia Admissions. So before we get started with the presentation, just a few administrative elements. So the presentation will have a few interactive moments. I'll ask a few questions, and I would hope that you have a piece of paper or some form of writing instrument to take a few notes. Also, I ask that you can like or dislike the presentation along the way. And if you have questions on any element that I'm talking about in the presentation, please ask the question in the chat box. I will not be answering the questions while the presentation is still going, but we'll have a few minutes at the end to answer any questions that you may have. All right, so let's get started. So you are here today, obviously, to learn about how to best prepare for your business school journey ahead. So I think it's fair for me to ask the question of, why are you pursuing an MBA? Why are you here, right? Well, if you're anything like me, you want a degree to help you open doors. You want it to provide opportunities for professional growth. You want it to help you make your dream career a reality. You want it to help you make your dream a reality. In a nutshell, you want that rewarding job, hopefully for a company that you love, and really making a difference. But let's talk about potential outcomes of not getting your MBA. If your goal is to work as a business leader, you want to be a business leader in whatever field that you're focusing on, without an MBA, your business acumen may not be as refined, which may lead to promotions or to attaining promotions much more challenging. If you want to work for an MBB, as a consultant, you may not be eligible for those leadership roles. You may have also a strong network, but it may not be the type of network that you need to help you get the job that you want. Or perhaps you're an entrepreneur. You already have a venture, or you have a family business, or you're thinking about a venture that you want to develop or work on along the way. Without the pedigree, it may be difficult to secure funding. Or perhaps you already have a venture and you need funding to expand. So these are elements that the MBA offers. But you also may eventually get there, right? You get the promotion that you want, you get to work, you get to meet the people that you need to get that funding that you want, but it may take a lot more time. And if you're like me, if you know what you want, you don't really want to wait around for it. So obviously success does not have to take time. It doesn't have to be delayed. It doesn't need to be challenging. And yes, a business school does offer opportunities for growth in these areas. So then why don't we envision your future with the MBA from a target business school? So imagine instead that after years of work in making sure that you have a strong undergraduate performance, that you have strong GMAT, GRE, executive assessment scores, you have received numerous promotions in your job, you have been working really hard for those, and you present your case to the admissions committee in a way that really showcases who you are. And that, of course, you then receive an admission to your top choice. While you are in your MBA program, you gain the business acumen that you need. You develop strong networks around people, like-minded people. You are introduced to industry leaders in the field that you're interested in, of course. And you really gain or have an opportunity to be exposed to elements that you were not exposed to, projects you never thought you would be exposed to. All of these elements are really to prepare you for that job immediately post your MBA, as well as your future dream job. So imagine then every one of these benefits providing a leverage effect to the difference you want to make, whether in your world or in the world at large. And you may say, okay, Susan, sure, but that doesn't happen that way. I know people who haven't been admitted to top business school with strong profiles. How do I make myself stand out? And that's a fair question. So let me just sort of answer the first point there. It's true. There are about 90 applicants out of 100 don't get admitted to top MBA programs. I had a prospect who I'm going to call Mike. He had a 3.6 GPA, a 750 GMAT score, 5 promotions in the past 5 years. On paper, he was a perfect candidate. He applied by himself to 8 MBA programs and was rejected by every single one of them. And it's really not Mike's fault. He was a really strong leader in his field at his company, but his weakness was understanding and developing his story so that he can market himself to the MBA admissions committee. We oftentimes think in macro terms. I see this so many times on the GMAT Club platform, where we consider, GRE, GMAT, work experience as the ultimate deciding factor of your MBA admission. And that's not always true. You need more than that. If you think about the MBA programs, there's limited space in those programs. And in Mike's case here, with the target institution wasn't able to see Mike's high probability of future success. Obviously, you can imagine that with the rejection, Mike was reluctant to invest his time and money and energy and emotions into reapplying. However, after working with him for about 6 months and really helping him tell his story, he not only was admitted to his top choice, but also received a $70,000 scholarship. So I am glad that he didn't stop there and didn't take his rejections as the deciding factor of his future, because otherwise he wouldn't be currently interning at McKinsey, which was his dream job. So what makes a successful MBA application? It's really taking the time to be introspective, looking inward, really. So how then do you make your target program see that you have the highest probability of success? I don't know your personal profile, so I can't comment on that at this stage. But what I can do is really show you how I help Mike and others, which is reflected on my placement rate, to present their profile to the admissions committee. This is an essential step in presenting your case in a compelling way. So as I mentioned, at this stage, we're about 6 months away from the round 1 applications. There are obviously numerous steps until you are ready to submit, and you know what those are. That include resume, essays, letters of recommendation, GRE, GMAT, all of those critical elements. But right now, you need this one clearly defined, clearly developed essential step. This is foundation to everything that follows. Without this, there's no success in your business school application, and it's obviously related to goals. So what I would ask for you to do right now, if you have that piece of paper in front of you, I want you to take a minute, maybe less than that, and write down what your purpose is. Why are you here? Why are you pursuing an MBA? Write down a sentence or two that comes to mind where you are right now in the application process. So why do you want to pursue an MBA is the question. So I'll give you about 10 seconds. All right, so keep that with you for now. So a successful business school application requires a purpose and an action plan that will lead to that purpose. In the words of Stephen Covey, who you may know as the author of 7 Habits for Highly Effective People, when he talks about goals, he encourages readers that they begin with the end in mind. They begin with the destination. So what does that mean in relation to your MBA application, especially in the cases where you don't necessarily know what that end goal looks like, which is perfectly okay, by the way. Begin then with that which you are most passionate about, that which matters most to you. What do you care about? Make a list of those things. The list can have 1 item, 5 items, 10 items, whatever it is that you're passionate about. But I would say probably you don't want to exceed 15 items on the list at this point. So why am I asking you to do that? Well, the thing that you're most passionate about and what matters most to you is likely the fundamental driver of why you are pursuing your degree. So it's really important to identify what matters most to you. So today, what we're going to cover is ways to think about your purpose in developing it, of course. What skills do you already possess? And what do you require to get to your goals? To begin that purpose conversation, I would encourage you to ask yourself, what do you want, right? The purpose question must be looked at from the macro perspective, which means not about what job title you want, but rather about the impact you want to make. So it's not about wanting to be a CEO at a Fortune 500 company in the long term. It's about wanting to lead a company whose mission is to improve environmental impact, for example. So ask yourself, where do you want to focus your energy long term, so that your successes will make you feel that you have led a life of meaning. Now, I'm going to sort of give a side note here. I often have this conversation, the purpose conversation, and some people are, understandably so, find the word to be too big. It's intimidating. I don't know what my purpose is. It's just too strong and too big of a word to try and define and clarify at this stage. And also, let's face it, sometimes we need more than 6 months to define and refine our purpose, which is perfectly okay. Now, I don't want you to leave this session here. I want you to stay on. So instead, then, I want you to think, instead of the word purpose, I want you to think of it as defining your passion, defining that which you care so much about, that you want to devote your life to. And as I mentioned, the only way to think about that which you care about the most is through introspection. So to have a strong purpose, you need clarity. And to have clarity, you have to ask yourself questions, right? You have to continue on working inwardly to really look at what matters most to you. You have to research what excites you. You have to look at different veins of opportunities that are available in that field. Look at how you can gain more exposure in the field that you're interested in, even if that's a field that you don't currently have any exposure to. In what way can you contribute to it? Now, take all of these steps, and the introspection element is really to gain a better understanding of yourself, gain a better understanding of who you are and what you stand for. Now, in the introspection exercise, as these very simple, intended to be clarifying questions: what do you value? What's your objective? What do you want to do? What do you want to gain out of it? And what are your strengths and weaknesses in relation to that which you value? You may not have any exposure in that field at all currently. So that would be something that you need to improve on, right? So successfully identifying these elements will help you obviously define your purpose. So remember here that sometimes we value money, we value that high-paying job, but at the end of the day, it's not really the thing that, or it may not be the thing that brings you fulfillment in the long term. And it certainly will not be the most exciting application that the admission committee reads. So then you can ask, okay, so what is an exciting thing that the admission committee will read? And that's service. So what does that mean? At the core of service is keeping a larger community in mind that obviously you want to affect. Who is ultimately going to be affected by your work? If you want to work in energy, for example, or water, who is the end user? Not just the company, not just your immediate, peers, but who is the end user of the services that you provide and the services that you want to be a part of. So ask questions like, what important world issue do I care about? What important world issue do I care about? How do I envision the problem to be solved? In what way do you see yourself contributing to a solution to that world problem? Where obviously do you want to leave a mark? Now, once you answer every one of these questions, part of introspection is delving even deeper than an immediate answer. So with the question of what important world issue do you care about, whatever your answer is, then ask a further question. Why does it matter to you? Specifically, why does it matter to you? I really discourage anyone from giving vague answers, because it doesn't help the reader understand you as a person and what you value and what you care about. And at the end of the day, that's what you want to convey to the admission committee. So in the question of how do you envision the problem to be solved, why does that matter to you specifically? And so on. If you are targeting top 20 schools or really any of the MBA programs, and you are really an individual that values excellence, that values putting out the best of yourself, then you're going to want to put out the best of yourself, not only in your application, but also in the world post-MBA. So then ask, where do you want to provide the excellence to make an extraordinary contribution to the world, right? So my first sort of question here and exercise for you is that you spend some time writing your purpose, answering these questions and delving deeper as to why each answer matters specifically to you. We unfortunately don't have time to wait on answers to these questions and develop them here, but I do encourage you to reach out at the end and let's talk about what your purpose is. So once you've identified your purpose, or that which you're most passionate about, or that which matters most to you, then you want to evaluate your skills in relation to the purpose. It is important, therefore, that you have a clear purpose in mind before you embark on this particular, or the second part of the goal-defining project. In this project, so once you've gotten here, you want to evaluate your profile in sort of two segments. The first segment is you want to evaluate your measurable skills. So this is, your professional achievements, have you received promotions, that type of stuff, what your academic performance was. If you have been a couple of years out of school and you don't remember how you performed in undergraduate school or in graduate school, look at or request a transcript, request a copy of your transcript and examine it, not just your cumulative GPA, but also your grades along the way. Look at your community achievements. Have you been involved in community while you were in school and also since you left school? If you're working in finance, for example, have you received any professional designations, or any other field that has professional designations? Have you received those? And if not, it's okay. It's just identifying them, right? The next step to the self-evaluation process is to look at more of the qualitative skills. This is a little bit, perhaps maybe even on the gray zone. I work with clients whose title is often not reflective of their job or what they do. And I wouldn't want anyone submitting an application where their title is the defining element of who they are. So it's really important that you spend time thinking about the level of contributions that you've made in your work thus far. What type of leadership exposures have you had since you left your undergraduate degree? and your graduate career. Look at your engagement in your desired field. So as I mentioned, if you haven't had any engagement in your desired field, if you want to change direction at this point, that's okay. It's just making that clear from the beginning that that's what you're doing, right? And especially in that case, you want to look at transferable skills. What have you gained thus far in your work? What experiences have you gained that are transferable to this new career that you're pursuing? So my then request for you, this is request number 2, is that you, once you've gone through these elements here, that you evaluate the highlights of what came out of this exercise. So articulate what you feel that stands out in your application from your measurable and qualitative skills. Once you have gone through these steps, so step 1, identifying your purpose, and step 2, identifying your achievements in relation to, or the highlights in relation to your purpose, then I encourage you to look at what do you require to get to your goals. This can be both short-term and long-term. What are the steps that you need? One of the steps is probably your MBA. That's the first thing. But then what follows that, right? You may look at, maybe you will have, especially if you're changing careers, where your strengths and where your weaknesses are. So if your current job is more finance oriented, but you're looking to go into something that's more marketing oriented, then obviously your business acumen is understanding better marketing, right? So that's identifying what you need to get to where you want to go. Do you need any professional exposure to the field that you're looking to go into? So if you're not changing careers, if you're going back to the same career after your MBA, a possibility, something that you want to think about is, do you need a 2-year MBA? Maybe Columbia's J-term makes sense to you. So identifying what exactly you require in order to be successful immediately post-MBA, as well as your long-term goal. What are you looking for also from your network? What are you looking to gain from them? How engaged do you want them to be? How do you envision them helping you in this process? Then you want to look at, experiential exposure. If you're looking to work overseas and you want opportunities to, go overseas and work with different companies, then maybe, that's an important element that you are going to need to think about, and an important element that you will need from your MBA program is giving you that exposure. So identify what type of exposures do you need in order to get to where you want to go. So then my request, this is request number 3, is that you identify the areas that you need to work on, where to help you get to where you want to go. As we saw, it's really important that you kind of follow this end goal in mind first and foremost process, because you can then sort of reverse engineer your MBA, or rather your career ahead, right? So look at where you want to go, what's your purpose, where you want to end up long term. You want to evaluate your achievements. What have you done so far? So this is backward looking a little bit. And then you want to look at, okay, once I've looked at where I am currently and what do I need, then obviously you want to look at what you need in order to get to where you want to go. These are 2 bonus elements here, and Ray Dalio talks about them in Principles. In order to then reverse engineer this process, you obviously going to have to design a plan that you're going to also look at key results that you want to achieve from each of those plans ahead. an important element of of this is obviously if you have a plan is not going to get you to the desired results if you do not do what it takes to get to your desired results. So it's really also, that's why it's important that you follow your passion, right? Follow that's what you care about most, because you will require that energy level to be there in order to get to where you want to go. And of course, in following that passion, you have to know yourself, who you are, and what matters most to you. So for those of you that have been taking notes, I invite you to reach out. So let me just recap what those 3 requests were that I mentioned. So one is identifying your purpose and your passion. And I've included on this slide the questions that we asked, right? Dive deeper. Why? Every response should have a why following your response, and answer that as well. It's really clearly articulating what it is that you want to do and where you see yourself going. Then you want to obviously identify your the highlights of your background. What are your quantitative and qualitative skills, achievements thus far? Then once you have done that, you want to identify areas you need to strengthen in order to get to your goals, in order to get to where you want to go. Honestly, everything that follows this, meaning your school selection process, conversations with representatives of the universities that you're targeting, conversations with your recommenders, conversations with your peers, conversations with students, all of that will go so much more smoother if you have a clear purpose, a clear definition of why you are doing this. Why are you here? Why are you pursuing an MBA? What's your long-term goal? And obviously then what's your short-term goal as well? So once you have done that, I invite you to reach out and let's talk about how we can help you present that, market yourself to showcase you as someone who has the highest probability of success. I have included my contact information on this slide. I believe that the same information will be available in the comments section. So I'm just going to stop the sharing right now and go back to the presentation. All right, so let's see if we have any questions. So the question is it worth going to business school outside of top 15 if you're already a management consultant at a big 4? The answer could be yes, and it could be no, depending on what you want to do. What's the end goal, right? If you go through this exercise and realize what is it that you want to do later on, that will really give you the question. That will give you the answer if it's worth to go into an MBA program that's outside of top 15. Obviously, top 15s are top 15s, but that would be the answer there. Yes, feel free to post any questions following this conversation, and of course, feel free to reach out to us with any questions that we don't get to answer on this live stream call. Want to get into a leadership role wherein I can get into the risk-taking decisions. I'm not sure what the question is here. If you want to get into a leadership role in sort of risk and strategy, then obviously an MBA makes absolute sense for you to pursue. It depends on where you want to go, which geographic region you want to go into, sort of what your purpose is there. I'm not sure if I answered that question. I'm sorry, but I don't actually quite know what the question is. So if you want to retype it again, I'm happy to answer it, or happy to try to give you a better answer. What are the chances of getting into a top business school with no work experience right after graduation? Chances are, well, there are a few programs like Harvard's 2+2 program that is designated for individuals that do not have any work experience. If you are applying to the traditional MBA program, then your chances are very low without any work experience. But there are options for those that are, know what they want to do, know where they're going, and know that an MBA is part of their plan. And that means going to, a 2+2 type program. And other schools have similar things as well. There, I would say, obviously, is very competitive, and you need to have extremely strong performance, both in undergraduate or graduate, depending on which program you are graduating from, as well as your GMAT score. You also have to really showcase leadership in your program, because you are going to be competing amongst the best of the best. And also, you will have to showcase leadership in some way. All right, so I think I answered that question. So this is questions from Deep Das. What are the placement opportunities post-MBA? Universities, if you look at the university's employment rate, employment report rather, they will show you what their placement rate is immediately post-MBA. Most of the top 20 sort of boast between 87 and 97, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Placement rate immediately post-MBA, which means that within 3 months of their graduation, gonna use the high number there, 97% of the students receive a job offer. So, but you can look at the specific target schools that you are looking at. They should have a employment report posted on their website. If not, I encourage you to reach out to the school and the school that you're targeting and speak to them directly and get an answer from them directly. And then also that report is obviously going to give you placements for the different industries as well. From a GMAT-alized business school to explore potential career options. What are some of the best ways to explain this to outcome convincingly? That is a very good question. I would recommend that you have some sort of goal. What are you trying to achieve? Unfortunately, schools tend to look at that as someone who is really looking to take a break from work. So I would really encourage you to think deeper. And this exercise, introspection exercise, figuring out what's really important to you, may make sense for you to start working on, and then seeing what comes out of it, and trying to develop an answer, a potential answer, knowing, of course, that no one's going to, force you to pursue a particular degree or a particular field post-MBA. A lot of the applicants, a lot of the students that are admitted to top programs, some of them know where they want to go, but some of them also thought they knew where they wanted to go and changed their mind because they were exposed to wonderful opportunities at these institutions that they didn't even imagine before going into it. And now they're changing paths. So that's expected, and institutions know that, but they still want to see that you have thought about why you're here and why do you want an MBA. At 32, 3 to 4 years of work experience, 50 GMAT score, want to go to top 50 schools. Should I talk to business consulting. I recommend you reach out. I'm not quite sure. I think a top 50 school, I guess maybe it's a question, top 50 school is doable. It depends, of course, what your goals are. What do you want to do at 32? And where you want to take your career. But do feel free to reach out and we can talk more about what specifically you're looking to do post MBA. So why do you need an MBA at this point in your life? Any thoughts on 1 year versus 2 year MBAs? Yeah, so 1 year MBA, generally speaking, is not necessarily going to have that internship element. So if you feel that you know where you want to go, and I'm thinking here specifically more on the sort of the US side, if you have, like, it's going to be obviously much more intense. The 1 year MBA rather than the 2 year, and both are very intense to begin with. But the 2 year really allows you a little bit more time to explore, and also allows you time to, intern at different organizations, whichever organization you're really targeting, and sort of explore that vein. And obviously, hopefully get a job after immediately. But the same thing with the 1 year MBA, but it's much more intense and much more sort of focused on that quicker transition between, the coursework and the job immediately post MBA. Are any good 1 year MBA for moving into senior management role after an IT development career of 13 years in analytics? So one school, or actually 3 schools that come to mind, is the Sloan Fellows programs that are offered by MIT, LBS, and Stanford. MIT is the only one that offers the MBA, the MBA sort of degree. The other ones offer a master's. So look into that. And explore that. I think with 13 years in analytics, I think that would probably be a really good fit for you, but it also depends on where you want to take your career afterwards. Are there colleges that give you more preference if your family member has studied or is studying in the same college? One school that I'm thinking of is Fuqua. I know that they have a section where they look at individuals who have ties to the institution. And it's not going to be, none of these institutions are going to accept you just because your family member has gone to that university. But if you obviously receive a recommendation from someone who is a alumnus of the institution, they will see that, of course, as a positive thing, and will take that into consideration. How old is too old to be competitive for an MBB? Traditionally, I would probably say that, 29, 30 is probably the cutoff period, but later on it's going to be much more challenging. So that's why, especially individuals that want to go into consulting, once you've passed your 30 plus, it may make it more challenging for you. So yeah, absolutely. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for GMAT MBA videos that the GMAT Club is hosting. And of course, you can get 7-day access to the GMAT Club tests. And the activation, it starts immediately once you subscribe. Okay, so it looks like we have a couple more questions. What are the major differences between an MBA and an MIM? So one of the major differences that comes to mind is MIMs usually are programs that admit students with very little work experience, so they don't come in with a breadth of knowledge in their field, or in leadership field. But you do get a lot of the sort of theoretical understanding of business and how to understand business. An MBA, on the other hand, you are expected to have about 5 years of work experience where you understand a little more about how business works, and are looked at to integrate or to bring in your experience to the classroom and talk about those experiences and sort of explore them further with different examples, especially like in the case studies and those elements there. So MIM is going to be for individuals that have a lot less work experience, as opposed to an MBA candidate who is going to have more work experience and is really ready for that next step in his or her leadership career. So reach out again if you want to talk further about your goals and how to define them. We can talk about how we can help you present your case to your target institutions. So you have the link there to register, and look forward to absolutely chatting with you and getting to know you. You can also obviously send us an email if that's something you feel more comfortable with. Any more questions? All right, great. So that's all we have. Thank you so much for your time and for listening. And hopefully this was a session that you found valuable to you. If you liked it or did not like it, please leave a like or dislike on the page, and subscribe to the GMAT Club's YouTube channel, and reach out to us with questions in how we can help you really maximize your applications to your target institutions. And we look forward to chatting with you then. Thank you so much. Bye.